Good afternoon, Pokemon fans, and welcome back to our Bochum Regional Championships 2023. We're just about to get ready for our round 8, and I would love to introduce you to my co-caster, Amy Bosley. Amy, how are you doing?
I'm very well today. It's been so fun so far. I've honestly met some incredible people. Like, just being able to interact with players that, you know, we aspire to, we look up to, we see them all the time. We don't often get the chance to speak to them, though, and today we've had that pleasure.
No, yeah, some fantastic games, of course. We're 7 rounds in. We've got our last 2 rounds, and this is the crunch time, right? This is winning in time. This is where players are starting to solidify their end-of-day results. So, you know, really exciting stuff to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting to see and feel the pressure in the room, because this is when it all comes down. Those last 2 rounds can be so crucial to every single person in here, even those in the lower standings. Like, do you want to go home having given up, or fight through to the end and try and make that match score better? I want to make my match score better every time. I fight until the bitter end. And I think everyone should. If you're a true Pokemon fan and you're not too upset, then you just fight through to the end. It's the best feeling when you manage to even out that result and go, yeah, I tried.
Never give up. Never give up. That's the thing. So yeah, of course we're heading into those crunch stages, as I said there. So you know, we're moving into preparing for day 2. So you know, what decks are we expected to see? What decks are we expecting to come to light in day 2?
I think definitely Lost Zone boxes coming to our day 2. I think it's unquestionable at this point. We haven't seen an awful lot of Lugia on stream today. I wonder whether it's dropped off a little in popularity. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think that was the first Gudra we've seen today, but I do think it's a strong competitor for a day 2 position as well. So it could be interesting is just to see really how this ends up turning out. We've obviously got our fantastic competitors here shoveling up and ready to rumble. We've of course got Geordie on Vikavolt V and Jack Old, a familiar face on Lugia V-Star. So as we were just talking about Lugia, here one comes. And we've had Vikavolt on before, but it doesn't quite match up the same. This is a very different matchup. Jack has lots of ways of getting their engine set up and their deck doing what they'd really like it to start doing. Vikavolt has the advantage of having weakness. Will Jack be able to counter all of those elements? Yeah,
so we see Jack playing a more familiar build of Lugia. It's a little bit, you know, I hate to say it's a little bit regular. But you know, he's playing this Vikavolt deck, and you know, like you said, it's up to whether this Vikavolt can be up to the disruption task. You know, negating Jack's ability to play his items, get those Archeops in the discard pile. It's going to be really exciting to see.
Yeah, I think the nice thing about Lugia though is it doesn't really heavily rely on the items after the start of the game. So getting that item lock set up really nice and early for Geordie is going to be so crucial, stopping Jack from being able to get those Archeops in the discard pile. The easiest ways obviously being through things like Ultra Ball, which can get rid of both of them in one go. But we know that just as well as that, Professor's research can do the job. So Lugia does have a lot of other ways to do things. So will Geordie's Vikavolt build be aggressive enough to stop Lugia in its tracks?
Yeah, and we see the deck list up here. You know, this Vikavolt build, it's back to a little bit more of a Lumeni. Well, it is a Lumenion Crobat build. It's got nothing else in it, but of course, having that little basic Zapdos, adding that 10 additional damage to for your basic lightning Pokemon. So, you know, we can see here the Raikou V, the Vikavolt V. He's got a plethora of attackers to be able to try and take him through to the game.
Yeah, and interestingly, Jack is playing the Manaphy, but has said no to Dunsparce today.
Interesting choice.
So Jack will be facing Vikavolt at its full wrath.
Yes.
With weakness and of course the Raikou Vs, which are going to do a tremendous amount of damage.
We know that Jack's an established player. Well, we both know we know that both players are established. So you know, Jack's going to be going into this game knowing that he's not playing the Dunsparce, of course, but he's going to be utilizing maybe his other attackers. He's of course got the Radiant Charizard, the amazing rare Yveltal, and of course the amazing rare Raikou as well.
Yeah, I mean, even in this matchup with some of the other cards that Geordie is using, like Greninja, we've got Pumpkaboo, Zigzagoon. Some of these could even pray fall to something as simple as an Archeops. A Lumineon can be a valid attacker in this situation. So it's interesting to see that Jack is running the double Lumineon build, so he does have the flexibility of looping those and actually taking a knockout with them. It's hard to forget that Lugia basically has a plethora of entirely valid attackers.
Yeah. And, you know, Geordie's going to be going with a game plan here. Going first is super advantageous always, but getting that turn 1 attachment onto the Vikavolt, not needing to use Melanie, will give him the opportunity to use Judge, which he also has in the deck. And this will be an extra layer of disruption for Jack, unfortunately. And also, in addition to not allowing him to use items, he's got Path to the Peak in deck as well.
Absolutely. So the players are all set up. That was a quick turn from Geordie, just attaching that speed energy. A very important cape by the look of it. And then just passing to Jack.
Straight Marnie there from Jack as well. Unfortunately, not being able to use maybe his more aggressive supporters, like you said, with the Research or Serena, but we'll see what he can get here off the Marnie. Hoping to get the Archeops in the bin early with using as many items as he can when he can, of course.
Yeah, when he's allowed.
Yeah, that Vikavolt is definitely going to be slowing him down. But on the other side, you know, Geordie, starting that Zapdos, not always going to be the best starter for him. It's 2 retreat cost. He only plays the 1 copy of Air Balloon, the 1 copy of Escape Rope, but of course does have the Scoop of Nuts as well. So, you know, it's going to be asking Geordie, did you get it? Did you get the retreat?
Yeah, absolutely. And Geordie could really dominate the game and dictate how Jack plays if they don't find those cards they were looking for. Clearly a little bit of a struggle with having to play the Marnie, but luckily being able to immediately go Lugia and a Lumineon. So although they've already played a supporter from turn, this is Jack's first deck search. It's allowing him to just have a little look-see, see what those prize cards are presenting. They're not fantastic with the Evolution Incense in there as one of the only ways to get that Lugia V-Star out of the deck. So definitely going to be utilizing Ultra Balls unless Geordie gets that lock in place.
Yeah, and this is a great play from Jack because this is preparing for next turn. He's not thinking just about this turn. He's getting that Lumineon down to get the Research in preparation for Geordie to put down the Path to the Peak. So this negates that, and of course he'll be ready with his supporter in hand.
Yeah, he's getting himself entirely ready, hoping that Geordie can't then go ahead and disrupt the hand further. But even so, I don't think Jack would be that upset. It's not a brilliant start, unfortunately, a slow start, whereas Geordie has had a bit more of a good time with that Vikavolt. It is ready to rumble already.
It's ready. He's got used the Melanie there, benching down the Mew. As you said there, the Vikavolt ready to start using its paralyzing bolt attack, a scary attack on to be the receiving on the end of. So we'll see how he navigates this way now. I can't see a way to retreat for Geordie. And this is not what he's wanting to see because, of course, Jack, he's just going to be continuing to have turns where he'll be able to use items.
Yeah, and it's passed over to Jack. This is a slow start from both players. Jack, by this point, ideally wants those Archeops gone in the discard pile, ready to fish right out exactly right now. So, there goes the Research, getting rid of what looks like another Research and a Lugia V. So, yeah, Jack doesn't really need the extra Lugia V at this point. He's got the one down that he wants. Doesn't want too many things with weakness to Geordie's vast electric deck. Those lightning types can be fearsome, and Jack doesn't really want to see them, as we know. Yeah,
like I said, Jack will be wanting to try to utilize his single prizes as much as possible. And also, this Snorlax is not the most terrible starter for him. He's going to be trying to utilize this Snorlax as much as possible. The Paralyzing Bolt is only currently doing a 60 damage to the Snorlax. It's not even two-shotting the Snorlax.
No.
So, you know, as long as the Thumping Snore and the Snorlax can wake up, you know, he's going to be utilizing, as long as he can do this, a lot to ask, of course, but as long as he can keep this in the active, it's not the worst thing for Jack.
No, it's not. Snorlax is a great choice here, and although Jack didn't get a choice, it's a choice that I imagine a player would have actively made. It doesn't have weakness to Geordie's deck. He's already really managing to manual attach most of the energy Snorlax needs. Snorlax only needs 3 energy to attack, so that Thumping Snore is already ready to go. There's a bit of a damage reduction, but that doesn't matter right now.
No, of course not. It certainly is thumping. for sure. So we'll see here, Jack. I imagine he's probably going to be taking out this Zapdos, of course, with the Snorlax.
And there's the Lugia V-Star.
He's maybe debating whether one Archeops is enough for him to take through to the end of the game. Just riffling the hand there. And wondering how he's going to be navigating this all the way through to the end. And yeah, he's going to be using the Summoning Star, making use of that Archeops straight away.
I think Jack's ever so aware that if they don't pick up the pace now, Geordie could run away with this. One path to the peak and an item lock, and Jack could really struggle because then Lost Vacuum can't get rid of anything. Pumpkaboo would need to be searched for, which would need to be a quick ball maneuver. There's no way to search a stadium, so honestly it would look a bit dire. So I think Jack is very aware that the risk of one Archeops is worth it, and that risk versus reward could be game changing.
No, for sure. And you know, he's potentially punishing Geordie here for what is the poor start, you know, not being able to use the paralyzing bolt on turn 2. And we see here the knockout with Thumping Snore. So, you know, back to Geordie. You know, how does he respond to this? He's going to promote the Mew, going to be able to see more cards now, and he's going to be wanting to set up here. He's got the Lugias on the bench. It's a massive threat. It's only going to be able to be knocked out by the Raikou or the Vikavolt Super Zap Cannon, of course. So, you know, it's going to be an interesting way to see how Geordie responds to this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether he manages, because it could be interesting if he decides to target down that singular Archeops, whether that's going to be enough to slow Jack down or not. It does have weakness. Jack has 0 ways of preventing that. And the Lugia's half set up. Snorlax is good, but asleep. So, like, there are advantages and disadvantages to trying to get that on the go instead. Yeah,
for sure. And, you know, like we said earlier, this Snorlax is actually such a barrier for Geordie because it does such a massive damage for a single prizer, and it is a massive threat to the Vikavolt.
But it's only a threat if it wakes up. Snorlax, wake up!
Yeah, we'll be hoping to see some more flips now from Jack, of course. But we see the Melanie there come down. So he's going to be opting to attach... Well, he's only got one option, attaching to that Vikavolt, drawing an extra 3 cards, and he's probably going to be hoping to find a second attacker.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see which attack they choose this turn, because Super Zap Cannon, like we said, can KO.
Yeah, it can KO. He will need to find the extra lightning energy for the Super Zap Cannon. He can opt to use it, but of course, it's going to be giving Jack another turn of items.
Yeah, it's risky. Oh, and there goes the path. So Jack was right to use that Archeops ability while he could. However, it does turn off the Lumineon and the Charizard.
It turns off the Lumineon and the Charizard. You are so right. But of course, Jack has used his Summoning Star. The biggest threat from Path to the Peak was negating him the effect to use Summoning a Star. He's already used it, so like you said, it's switching off the existing abilities in his deck that are relevant, which are going to be the Radiant Charizard and Lumineon.
Yeah, the remaining few that can utilize it. Snorlax stays asleep this turn, so Jack might have to find a way of pivoting. Lazy old Pokemon. Might have to find a way of either bringing that back or maybe just leaving Snorlax there. That Vikavolt still can't knock Snorlax out even next turn.
No, I can confirm Jack doesn't play Wind Up Arm. So Snorlax isn't going to be able to attack without the retreat. We know Jack does play the Bird Keeper, but this makes actually Path to the Peak quite relevant because, of course, he isn't going to be able to Lumineon with that unless he can bump it out of the way. He does only play 1 Stadium, which is the Collapsed, and 1 Pumpkaboo. But, you know, board space is scarce.
Very, and it's interesting to see him attaching to that Charizard. It's not an early play that you often see, but I see the logic in it as a single prizer. It's still really tough. Prize cards could be taken soon. And
there's the pass.
Oh, no. Sleepy Snorlax stays sleeping.
So if Jack was able to take the knockout there with the Charizard, if of course he's asking for a lot, but the Combustion Blast does knock out the Vikavolt with a Choice Belt. But of course, it's asking a lot with Path to the Peak in play. You know, does he have what he needs in hand? And turns out he doesn't, or we're seeing a play that I'm not seeing. But we see here the Vikavolt ready to use the super zap cannon.
Oh, and they're going for the
and they're going for the
Lugia.
boss. They're going for the boss. Interesting to see what will happen here.
Yeah, that Lugia is a little bit bulky too with the V-Guard energy by the looks of it.
He's using the Pumpkin Pit, the Pumpkaboo, Pumpkin Pit ability, getting rid of that part of the peak. So we'll see how he navigates this way now. So he's using an energy surge. Thinning is winning. Thinning is winning. So he's getting that energy out of the deck. Oh, no, choosing to fail. So we'll see what he does here. It would have been nice to see maybe, unless he's playing a supporter here, to see an energy ready for next turn if he uses the Super Zap Cannon.
Yeah, but clearly he has another plan in mind, and I'm waiting to see the genius, because
I'm anticipating it.
Clearly that's why we're behind the desk and Geordie's out there, because...
No, for sure. For sure. Completely agree.
Yeah, there we are.
Using the skip of nets. And, that's why.
That's why.
It was the Crobat. That makes sense.
Look at us.
Yeah, look at us. Look at us. Yeah, unfortunately didn't see the Crobat there, but he's going to be drawing some cards. And the Radiant Greninja will be providing him a little bit more of consistency. But I'm quite worried about this board state for Geordie. There's not a lot going on attacker-wise. He will need to be finding that second attacker just in case Jack is able to, respond to this Vikavolt.
Ooh, nice being able to put the path back down for Jack's turn, but the Super Zap Cannon's going to take away some of that energy.
Yeah, it's huge.
But being able to leave 2 lightning energy on is perfect. That still gives them the cost they need for even a future big attack.
Yeah, able to still use Paralyzing Bolt, of course.
Yeah.
But, if he's in a bit of a tricky spot, he's in a bit of a pickle. Because Jack, of course, if he can respond to this, Geordie is left with a board state with no second attacker. Now, he can get out the Raikou V straight away. It is a basic, as we know. He can optimize Melanie to be able to use attack straight away. But, Jack's going to be asking him, can you respond to this? If he is able to get the knockout. Now, we know Jack does play Tool Jammer. He can turn off that Cape of Toughness. So we'll see how this is responded.
Yeah, not so tough now, Vikavolt.
No,
get that Jammer down, but it's only if he can find it.
If I know Jack, and I do, he wants to use items. So he's going to be wanting to get rid of this Vikavolt as soon as possible.
And we see the Pumpkaboo come into play, so that hopefully we can get rid of that. There we go. Geordie's asked to see what the heat energy was, so that increases Charizard's health by 20, I believe. Yeah,
and it's not a small feat to knock out this Radiant Charizard. He will have to use one of his bigger attackers, like we said, the Raikou. The Paralyzing Bolt won't knock out the Charizard. But of course, the Charizard does such massive damage with that Combustion Blast. It's just such an ongoing threat for Geordie.
Yeah, you're not allowed to use it 2 turns in a row, mind. No. Jack will have to move that Charizard around or just leave it in the active, because if Paralyzing Bolt is the only threatening factor, it can take quite a few hits.
Yeah, of course. So we see here Jack opting to attach to the Raikou Amazing Rare. Now, what's interesting here, going back to that board state conversation we said about Geordie, a lot of single prizes on that board.
Yes, many.
A lot of single prizes Jack can utilize in attacking, because, of course, just a simple boss on the Pumpkaboo. Keep calling it Pumpkin Pit. A simple boss on the Pumpkaboo will mean that he can knock out maybe a Mew and a Pumpkaboo. But interesting here, he's setting up damage on the Vikavolt.
This could be for a really nice play, because if they put Tool Jammer into play afterwards, they can get multiple knockouts on a turn, because they haven't attacked yet. But the Tool Jammer would instantly mean the Vikavolt is KO'd.
Call an ambulance, but not for me. He's going to be able to touch the Tool Jammer, and like you said, it'll be instantly knocked out.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And then Jack has the opportunity to run away with this. So although they may look behind on the prize board right now, that could turn around real quick. We don't see Tool Jammer in a lot of Lugia lists. I think this is relatively unique. I've heard chatter of it in the community, but actually, no, I've not seen many people utilize it. But this is the situation that it's here for. This is the situation you want it in for sure. So we see here the speed energy attached to the Vikavolt. Speed energy is so good for consistency, just drawing that extra 2. And this is a sort of deck that can utilize it. We've seen it in Regigigas also, attaching to the Regieleki. A judge here. So this may turn the play. We've seen disruption enough on this stream. Maybe not so much in the last game. but Judge can put Jack in a little bit of a pickle. He still has that Archeops
Archeops on the bench, so he is able to utilize the Primal Turbo.
He's being very clever by spreading the energy around, though, because if he does lose the Archeops, he's still got sort of energy scattered around. He's got, he's not put all of his eggs in one basket here.
No, he's ready. He's ready. He's been setting it up, and that's why he utilized that Summoning Star so early, because he realized getting set up in this game is so important. Utilizing the Primal Turbo, as I said, attaching it to as many attackers and getting prepared for those later turns.
Yeah, it's where the Geordie can respond, because like you say, he's lacking another attack. There it is!
And there's the second Vikavolt come down. He's already attached return. He's used his supporter, so that Vikavolt will come onto the bench with no energy attached. Ooh. And we see here the Super Zap Cannon.
I've not seen a Vikavolt game like this in a while, where they're really putting on the pressure by not item locking Jack and just opting for pure sheer damage. And maybe that's a result of the singular Archeops.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, with Geordie's quite slow start, he didn't get the they always want to get the paralyzing bolts on the second turn, right? So, to keep up with momentum, we know Lugia is such a fast deck, such an aggressive deck. It's taking knockouts pretty much on turn 2. Geordie is having to change his game plan a bit.
Yeah, but I like the flexibility.
Yeah.
You can tell a player is passionate and knows their deck back to front when they can adapt to every situation. That's exactly what Geordie's showing here.
No, yeah, for sure. Completely agree. So, he's kept up the momentum. He's on 3 prizes. Jack's still on 5. And like you said, keeping up the momentum.
Yeah, Jack could turn the tables, though, right here, because if they're able to take more than one prize card more than sort of the 2 prize cards from the Vikavolt this turn, that would be fantastic. If they can manage to get a Tool Jammer. Yeah,
the Tool Jammer is so important. We know that he's prized 1, so only 1 is going to be available to him. He doesn't play Irida, which many of the Lugia decks do now.
Yeah,
he's
or Skylar.
Or Skylar. So he's opting for the boss play, opting to boss the Radiant Greninja. We can probably see here going to be an amazing shot from amazing rear Raikou, taking out the Greninja and the Vikavolt, you would imagine.
Possibly
or maybe not.
I think that Jack may put this damage elsewhere so that he gets multiple prize cards this turn and then leaves that Vikavolt for when he does eventually get that Tool Jammer. That Vikavolt can't heal. No. That Vikavolt is always going to have that damage on it. It's good enough that without that cape, it is toast.
Yeah, no, for sure. I completely agree. So we'll see how Jack navigates this. So he is opting to take the Vikavolt. He's gone for the Vikavolt. He's gone for those 3 prizes. Yeah. So we'll see how Geordie's going to respond here.
It is only one more 2 prizer for Jack to seal the win here. Yeah. So this might be enough to catch up anyway.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we know that there's 2 prizes on the board, easy for Jack to take with the Snorlax on the Crobat. Crobat, unfortunately, for Geordie, only has that 180 HP, and as you said earlier, isn't going to be able to get rid of his Vs on his bench. He doesn't play anything like Collapse Stadium or Volo that we've been seeing on the stream. So, it's an unfortunate board state for Geordie, but if he can find some way to disrupt Jack and take the knockout on the Raikou, he may be able to pull back.
Yeah, I think this is anyone's game still.
Yeah.
I can't see... Both of them have played spectacularly, and both adapted their playstyle to what they needed to do. They've been flexible with their deck list. They've not stuck to a plan and seen it through. They've gone, oh my goodness, my opponent is doing XYZ, and they have adapted to every situation. And I think that is the strength of these players, and that's what really brings winners to this competition. That's why these guys are on these match scores.
No, for sure. And, having to adapt their gameplay a little bit, this would be a matchup that they're not likely to see through day 1. So they're having to adapt their playstyles. Jack may have gone, all the way with these 7 results with, just Lost Box Mew Lugia mirrors. It's not often that you come up against this Vikavolt variant. So we see here opting to use the Melanie on the Raikou. We saw that there was no lightning energy in the hand at the start, but he did draw into one. So there is a speed energy, drawing an extra 2 cards. So opting to use the Raikou.
Raikou's so strong at the moment. Look at Jack's bench. It's huge.
Yeah, massive. So, able to take the knockout if he can get this Mew out of the active, of course. So as soon as this comes if he isn't able to...
There we go. Thank
That's
goodness.
fine. That's fine. But we know that Jack doesn't play any choice belt. So the only way he can win next turn is if he uses boss on the Crobat. We know that the Snorlax only does that 180 damage. So, yeah, we'll have to see here. Using Fleet-Footed with the Raikou. And... you know, these sort of decks, cards just come out of nowhere.
Yeah,
draw
they
one
do.
here, draw two there, draw three there.
Oh, both of them as well. Like, both of them can get a Pokemon set up, lickety-split.
Yeah.
Both decks are fantastic at doing that.
Yeah.
Geordie's attack costs are low.
Oh, no, and we see the powerful energy hand. Yeah.
Whoa,
So there's the
that
knockout
was
with
enough.
the Snorlax. That was enough.
Snorlax started and ended that game like a pro.
Yeah, and like we said, it's not the worst starter in this matchup.
No, not at all.
No, not the
Snorlax
worst.
said, I can start and finish this fight.
Yeah. So Jack taking full advantage of that start. And, you know, we spoke about the discussion of when to use Summoning Star. When to use Summoning Star and when can it be give you that maximum efficiency and be most effective. You know, it's obviously the best choice to use Summoning Star and get 2 Archeops out. But Jack just got the one out, made the correct decision there, kept the pressure on. What a play.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It worked out. Sometimes it doesn't. But honestly, on that occasion, it absolutely was the right decision. It was flawless. Sometimes it can be scary if you're not well set up enough, or if your opponent is too quick with those attacks. 1 Archeops can be a bit too scary. If they decide to boss it and take it out, you have no energy engine. And generally, unfortunately, unlike Vikavolt, it really does, Lugia really does rely on that energy engine because all of its attackers have more than 2 energy cost to use their big attacks.
Yeah, for sure.
Vikavolt, well, it doesn't. Most of its attackers are low energy cost, and that Melanie can just do as she please and pop those energies on nicely.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Geordie is going to come into this game with the same mentality of trying to use Paralyzing Bolt as soon as possible on Jack and trying to disrupt with that Judge play. We see here that he started the Mew, but let's go through the prizes first. Nothing too crazy in the prizes, nothing too detrimental. I think Geordie just has an issue here with his prizes.
Oh no, he's played heavy ball. Yeah.
He's played heavy ball.
Yeah.
I thought there was something going on there. He's got the Vikavolt from the prizes.
It's not a bad thing to have an early peek at your prize cards
No,
either.
of course not. No, it's always advantageous. So we see him getting the Vikavolt out. That's actually such a good starting play. We know he only plays 2. So yeah, what a play there.
Hisuian heavy ball very much doing its job there.
Yeah, for sure. So just looking at the prizes, so 2 trekking shoes might come into play for consistency. And then for Jack also, nothing too major. Maybe the V-Guard energy might come into play. But what we see here from Geordie, quite a strong start.
Yeah, and Jack didn't reveal a lot of his deck last game, actually.
No.
Geordie didn't get to see some of the cards that could affect him, like Stoutland didn't make an appearance, but Geordie does run those Mews, and Stoutland can crunch them.
Yeah, Stoutland can come into play when, you know, there's little single prizes on board. I would be lying if I said I haven't been surprised with a Stoutland on my Pumpkaboo. You know,
exactly.
It's something that you get, oh, you got it. Oh no. But it's something Jack can utilize, like you said. But also
but having that kind of secrecy, the deck knowledge is so important. And Jack being able to go into this with actually not his entire deck revealed is quite strong too.
Yeah, sure. And another thing, the Tool Jammers weren't revealed. The Collapsed Stadium wasn't revealed. The Bird Keeper. Jack is going into this game with the advantage of, like you say, Geordie not knowing much of what is in his deck.
Yeah, the element of surprise could be in Jack's favor here. He won the first game without revealing too much.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Geordie here playing the few Mew down.
Using all the abilities.
Yeah, using all of them. But I think, got the VIP pass there, nice. And he's also got the Forest Seal Stone.
He's not quite sure what he wants by the looks of it, though.
No. Quite a strong selection of cards available to him. But like I said, he's probably going to be looking at asking himself the question, how do I get Paralyzing Bolt up next turn?
Yeah, really nice and early. They've already got the Speed Lightning energy on, which is great. I think their card draw this turn overall has been as strong as it can be for a first turn.
No, for sure. And these sort of decks with speed energy, Mew, trekking shoes, your hand just is like an accordion. It just grows from 2 to 7 so easily.
So easily, and it's always a very well curated hand
Yeah.
at that.
Awkward hand here from Jack. Too
Ooh.
powerful energy, capture and a DTE. Not ideal for him.
It might be another early Marnie. We'll have to
Yeah.
see how we go.
We'll see the attachment to Lugia, making that read the wind attack available to him. So he's going to just be counting through the resources. Best players do this. Always best to check, and especially with Lugia, first thing you always check is, have I got my V-Stars? Have I got my Archeops? And most importantly, have I got my energy?
Yeah, and I think the counts of your special energy that are flexible with the type of energy they are is really important in Lugia.
Yeah.
Checking how many Aurora energy, and for Jack, his heat energy, seeing where they are, if he can utilize them. Can he use more than one single prizer that has different color energies in its attack cost per game?
No, yeah, for sure. And, opting to use the Lugia there, and most possibly he's checking those energy counts first because of that really awkward hand that he has in front of him. The too powerful energy, the double colorless. It's really awkward to sometimes with Lugia, with your opening hands. How do you navigate your way through getting your Archeops in the bin and utilizing summoning star?
Yeah, no, unfortunately for Jack, there are no Archeops in hand.
No,
so
none.
even a risky Professor's Research wouldn't help this. And he's very aware at this point that there are 2 energy in the prize cards.
Yeah, so we'll see how he makes his way through here. Just popping
I
it
think
down.
maybe, a Marnie,
Marnie.
and then possibly
Turn on Marnie again.
possibly even reading the wind away an Archeops. If
Yeah.
he can get rid of one on this turn kind of manually through an Ultra Ball or a Quick Ball or something, unfortunately can't attach Aurora energy for it. But if they could get rid of one Archeops, then another could be read away with the wind.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. And it's not the most, it's not the worst play. Getting rid of the Archeops through an attack and also drawing 3 cards adds that little more consistency to your deck. And you see most Lugia players try and utilize Read the Wind as much as possible. He's getting rid of here an Archeops and a Yveltal. He's probably going to be looking for either a Lugia V-Star ready for next turn or an Archeops, like you say, to Read the Wind with.
Yeah, I reckon he's going to be going with that Archeops myself. It's interesting that he gets rid of the Yveltal here as well. It's not particularly a typical card that you would see played in this matchup because Jordy doesn't play anything with a gigantic amount of HP, and generally that's what Yveltal's there for, is taking out those giants with 310 plus HP, which
for sure.
Jack just wouldn't be able to deal with otherwise. They're just really fumbly to be able to get set up.
Yeah, I think with the Yveltal, Jack's thinking, all of these 2 prizes that Geordie are playing, I don't need an attack like the from the Yveltal Amazing Rare, just because there's not those massive beasts, like you say, no 310 HPs in this deck. It's only going to be the 210 or the 200.
Yeah, exactly. So although Jack's had a bit of a slow start, he can absolutely bring this back.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Opting as well, I like the play here for Capture Energy, the Lugia, just because we know that Geordie realistically can get a Super Zap Cannon this turn with just a Melanie attach. And, Jack would have been in a terrible position if he didn't have any Lugia on board, of course. It's going to be his main engine at the start of the game. So here we'll see how Geordie responds to this now.
Yeah, so first off, we've gone for one Mew Mysterious Tail and then not going into another, so they must have something up their sleeve.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we see here now possibly the Paralyzing Bolt. I would imagine so. So Jack not being able to use items no longer, unfortunately for him. We know that he does have Professor Research in hand, so he still is in the game. He's not going to be relying on any of those items. 2 Archeops in the bin. It's still Jack's game, like you say.
If Geordie can get a path down this turn, it could go a little bit awry, though.
We do see the
with
judge.
with an item lock.
Yeah.
And a path, Jack might struggle to use their Lugia V-Star if they get one. They might struggle to use that Summoning Star to get the 2 Archeops they very skillfully got into the discard early. Out!
Yeah, so like I said before, this is where the Vikavolt really shines, especially going first, going with the Paralyzing Bolt, going with the Judge, going with the Path. It's just asking so much from your opponent, and most massively, asking a lot from Lugia.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting to see that we've had 2 Vikavolt decks today be played completely differently, but they're both doing well. They're both being played successfully. One's a little more aggressive with the Palkia build, and then this one is a bit more about that control element.
Yeah.
And then taking knockouts later game with some smaller Vs.
Yeah. Yeah, we spoke about it earlier with the diversity of the format. You look at a card like Vikavolt, you don't have to play it in a specific way.
No.
You can play it with either this sort of engine, or like we see here from Geordie, or maybe even the Palkia Vikavolt that we saw earlier. So Geordie opting to bench the Raikou. It's going to be interesting to see whether he got the path to the peak. Oh no, of course, does have the Forest Seal Stone.
So this might be where it comes out, and then hoping that they've completely locked Jack out of doing anything.
Yeah.
I can't quite see what's in Jack's hand.
So Jack does have the 1 copy of Collapsed, the 1 Pumpkin Pit as we've seen.
Dear.
So he can, he can have them in hand, but for the Pumpkin Pit, Pumpkaboo specifically, he'll need to be able to use items if he doesn't already have it in hand. So we see here the path to the peak coming down, and this is crushing for Jack.
This is game changing entirely. Jack's hand looks poor for this. That top deck was a powerful energy. They've got items galore and a Charizard.
Yeah. So we see here the powerful energy attached to the Lugia. I can imagine
it's a read the wind.
It's a read the wind, unfortunately for Jack. Now we see here opting to discard the quick ball, and this is where Geordie's deck will really start to shine.
Yeah, and they've still got that weakness on the Lugia, so doing an unfavorable amount of damage with the item locking.
Yeah, no, for sure. And of course, Geordie will be able to get the knockout with Paralyzing Bolt if...
I think he's done not much, but know that he's got this in the bag.
It happened too fast for me. He would have been able to get the knockout if he did have the Zapdos, Geordie, but, opting to Paralyzing Bolt again instead.
Geordie has a commanding position.
Yeah.
They're not wanting to break it. They know what they've got, and they're rolling with it, going straight for another attack, forcing Jack almost to play that Charizard. Maybe a little early for their liking, but the Charizard did shine last game.
No, yeah, for sure. So commanding. I couldn't even be quick enough to commentate. But no, we see here attachment to the Radiant Charizard and another Read the Wind.
Oh, it's all Jack can do at the moment is read the wind and hang on in there, roll up his sleeves and keep digging for that Lugia V-Star.
Yeah, we see here now Geordie, as we say, in that dominant position. And with 1 more bench space, now he could be saving this for potentially a Crobat if he needs to, or maybe even another attacker. He can use Pumpkin Pit, of course, to activate his Radiant Greninja. But I imagine he's going to be trying to take full advantage of his current position and just keep going Paralyzing Bolt, Paralyzing Bolt, Paralyzing Bolt.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if Jack gets the Lugia V-Star at this stage, unfortunately, without any way to remove that path to the peak, it is going to be a very tough game.
It's a very awkward position, and for Jack, the question might start coming into his head as to whether, do I scoop here for an early concession? Do we move on to the next game? He's in a very awkward position, like you said, and I can't see in his hand any way to be able to get rid of that path to the peak.
I think his best bet here, to be honest with you, is possibly to evolve the Lugia and then hope for a double turbo energy from somewhere, because that will allow him to attack and remove the path to the peak in the process of attacking. The prize cards aren't ultimately stacked against Jack yet, so there's still all to play for. No.
Now, he is living in Top Deck City. Of course, the Read the Wind not active anymore. That's been knocked out, and his Lugia on the bench is going to be evolved. So, he's living, like I said, on those top decks. So, like you said, maybe looking for the double turbo, but it's not great having that Radiant Charizard in the active, just because, it's going to be taking a lot of paralyzing bolts, of course. It's going to be biding time, but this may be an advantage for Geordie.
Maybe that's what Jack's trying for. Maybe Jack's trying to bait Geordie into maybe using a different attack that knocks out Charizard, using the Greninja or something. Maybe trying to get Geordie to use a larger attack to stay on top of prizes.
Yep.
I don't know. It might be a power play in itself, but Charizard itself does have a large retreat cost. It's awkward to have in the active, but Jack's needing to take their time here, so Charizard's buying them that time.
Yeah, so even, with that double turbo, at the moment, it's not that great for Jack just because it's attaching it to Lugia, but he's not doing anything with it. We see here the attachment to Raikou. Now, we know that Geordie plays Escape Rope, as well as double full cross switcher. So he could take full advantage of those cards, but now just opting for the paralyzing bolt on the Radiant Charizard.
By the looks of things, yeah. And Raikou's not super strong right now because of Jack's position with his very low bench count.
Yeah.
Geordie's the only one in control of managing that Raikou's power. Jack's had to bench their own Raikou, meaning that Geordie's ones gets a little stronger.
Yeah. It would be great to see here, obviously, a boss on the Lugia. Jack hasn't used Summoning Star. He wouldn't be able to use it if that Lugia is knocked out, of course. It would be a massive, massive weight off Geordie's shoulders if that Lugia was, knocked out and put straight into the discard.
Yeah, and Jack can't shield against that, really. So possibly being able to gust that Lugia forward and take it out, even if they had to break the item lock for a turn, it wouldn't matter at that point because Jack still can't Summoning Star. So. No. It doesn't really matter if he's got items.
No, of course. We do see here the double turbo in hand for Jack, taking a deep breath there, deciding on what to do. The Raikou is protecting him off Escape Rope. Yeah, decides to concede. So we do see the quick concession from Jack, and we're going into game 3.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. It's lovely when we get a game 3 with matches that went either player's advantage really quite quickly. We saw that Geordie really had that one in hand. But previously, Jack did run away with only a singular Archeops, but it didn't matter. He took full control of the situation and made that deck his own.
No, yeah, for sure. And this is such a different game now with Vikavolt going second, just because they will need to put pressure on themselves to try and find that Melanie and get that paralyzing bolt as soon as possible.
Yeah.
It adds a whole different element to the game. They can't use the judge path that was so effective in that game. It was so effective, and now it's going to be really interesting to see how this match sets up.
Yeah, Geordie played both of those games really differently. The first one, he went really aggressive, was like, that's not working. Changed it entirely. Game 2, really on it with the control elements, making sure they're keeping Jack in check, especially with Jack's not ideal starting hand. Oh my goodness. So hopefully this will be a real tussle for the victory.
Yeah, no, and like I said, this game is going to be completely different in terms of setup. So I think that Jack going first is going to have the advantage of those items, like we said before. But the question here, I think, is on Geordie. The question is, can he get that Melanie onto the Vikavolt?
I reckon he can.
Yeah?
I reckon he can. I'm going to put that on the table. I think he can do it.
€5. €5.
I reckon he can do it. I'm confident. I'd love to see both decks starting off this game, barreling towards one another with everything they've got. I'd really like to see that full start from both of them to see what happens when they both get set up in the way they want to.
No, yeah, I completely agree. And we're getting right into this game. Oh, 2 Melanie, 3 Melanie in the prize cards for Geordie. Just like we mentioned there. So €5, please.
Yep, egg on my face. Come on.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, I'll have that later. But
my goodness.
The only one thing good going for Geordie here is that, of course, he does play the Lumineon, so he will have access to Melanie in his deck, which, of course, he will be able to get with any sort of Quick Ball, Ultra Ball, or maybe even start it himself. He does play Crobat as well with the Trekking Shoe. So, like we said, that accordion hand, starting with the 7, that can just go anywhere with the sort of cards he's playing. He's going to make a
beautiful tune with this deck.
Yeah, for sure. So we see here with Jack's turn.
Yeah, he started off with the Evolution Incense to grab the Archeops. Now he's playing the Ultra Ball, binning the Archeops to discard and deciding on that second card.
Oh, the synergy. The synergy, the great synergy here from the Lugia.
We're saying goodbye to Marnie this time.
Yeah, no.
Because she was not kind to us
No.
on that last round.
No, so opting to get the Lugia, of course, getting ready to set up for his next turn. Getting rid of the Marnie is interesting. We know
she
that
betrayed us.
Jack slammed that down for the first turn for both games now, so it's good to see him with a different line of play in this game.
Yeah, hopefully, like I said, maybe both decks will do their thing.
Oh, we see the Luminion coming down as well. So this is actually such a smart play. Like the first game, opting to put down the Luminion, getting that Professor Research in hand, because this stops Geordie just going path. Have you got it? Oh, well, I've got a Luminion in hand, but I can't use it. This is why this separates the good from the great, because Jack is preparing himself for next turn. He knows his opponent's deck, and so, he can carry on playing the game.
Yeah, Jack's learned everything in Geordie's book at this point, and he's taking full advantage of it. He's read him like a book, taking every chance he can. And the Luminions are valid attackers in this matchup, like I said earlier, so it's not like they're a burden on Jack's strategy. No,
of course. It does have the lightning weakness, so that could come into play a bit. The paralyzing bolt will be doing its maximum with 100 with that Luminion weakness, but like you said, it can just go back into deck.
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to hide away. I'm going to pop 120 on you
back in.
And go back into it.
Yep.
So we see here Geordie popping down the second Vikavolt. He does need to get the water. There was so much riding on Geordie going with the Melanie play, because you do need to get the water in the discard. You do need to find the Luminion or the Melanie. So
I'm confident.
You're still confident?
I'm still confident. He's got this. He's going to get that one Melanie. It's going to be beautiful.
No. We'll see. So just a little deck search here, a little prize check from Geordie.
He's giving a good thorough look. He's seeing that they're not there. Those ladies are in the prize cards, hidden away with Greninja and Zigzagoon, limiting his card draw. I don't love that either for him, unfortunately. No, and this could be a massive turn for Jack next turn. He started the Luminion, so it's most likely he's going to be needing the 2 Archeops in the bin to be able to retreat. And we'll see if he'll be able to punish Geordie's start here, if he is not able to get the paralyzing bolt, of course. Geordie's going for the Crobat. We're going to do some card drawing and see. Oh, love drawing me some cards. Lady Luck is on his side. Love drawing me some cards. So now looking probably in his hand to see what else he can get rid of. Yep, there's the Scoop Up Net. Scoop Up Net on the Mew. And I can imagine seeing the Crobat coming down for 3. Only 3 cards. He's going for broke here. He knows how important the Melanie is. Little shake of the head there. He obviously may not be aware that the 3 Melanie are in the prizes. So we see here a quick ball, I think. Not entirely sure in his play. Yeah, so we see the quick ball. He maybe opted to see whether. Oh, so we see the Vikavolt. This is the big attacker. This is the just in case. Oh no! Ops for the Zapdos. Okay. Quick swap there. Okay, but we know that Geordie, without the Melanie, can't attack this turn. Oh, there is the Luminion. Here we are. Okay. Oh. So we'll see here now. Gets the judge. Whoa! I do like this play, because this is saying, okay, I can't get the Melanie, fine, whatever. Let's go for the judge and path, and let's see what you got there. This could save me a turn. This could save me a turn. Oh, I love that. It's nice. It's sort of a call your bluff, isn't it? Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely seeing if Jack can have enough tools to get by, even without the item lock. So Jack will have access to their items on this turn, but they do only run 4 different items. Yeah, no, for sure. So we'll see Jack here drawing his Melanie. I do believe that was a boss's orders. He does have the Serena in hand, so there is some draw support there. I do believe I saw an energy card, perhaps. And that could be the free. That could be the retreat. So we see here That was a Professor's Research top deck.
That was a Professor's Research top deck. That is definitely something he wouldn't mind. He's got the Aurora in hand as well, so he does have the retreat with the Lumenion.
This is nice.
So this is setting up quite nicely for Jack.
Yeah, we're saying goodbye to Giovanni on this occasion.
Opting, and he's going to bench the Charizard. Nope, he's going to go straight in the bin, and he's going to be using that research for a fresh 7.
Yeah, he doesn't want to overload his bench at the moment, knowing that he can't loop that Luminion until Summoning Star comes down.
No, yeah, and of
to
course,
be able to help him with the energy cost.
No, yeah, and of course, in reducing the damage made by, that's going to come from Raikou as well. So we see here the Ultra Ball in hand, deciding as to whether he gets out the V-Star or another Archeops. I think there's only one at the bin, I believe.
Right, yes, I believe there's still only one. So he might go for an Archeops here and quick ball it away, but then he doesn't have the Luminion for a supporter for next turn. So it's going to be a tough decision here. He may go for the Archeops, he may go for the Lugia V-Star and go for the... Oh,
we do see the Archeops there.
Okay.
So opting to...
Quick ball that way, I imagine. There we go. Goodbye. He does have the Pumpkaboo in hand, interestingly to note. So if he does manage to get a Lugia online soon, he's already got what he needs in hand to make it happen. Get rid of that Path to the Peak.
So just looking through deck here, just searching out for a basic with Quick Ball. And just another look at the hand. And one thing we've got to say here, this is crunch time for these both players. You know, a win will take them into day 2 for either of these players. So, you know, it's another level of play here. It's another level added of pressure to these players.
Yeah, it's an important round for both of them. They'll both be feeling the pressure. And even just being on stream, there's a lot of pressure, even for seasoned players. I've seen seasoned players still shaking at the thought of going onto stream again. It is really nerve-wracking under all of that pressure. And yet, these two are absolutely nailing it. They are doing such a fantastic job. Yeah, no, sure. So we did see, well, I didn't see the Lugia V-Star in hand, but was able to get it. And of course, making full utilization of the Summoning Star, difference to the first game, able to get the 2 Archeops out. So now he's going to get that full advantage of the Primal Turbo. And this is where Jack could run away from it. Yeah. He could just take this game to the next level because retreating, using that energy placed earlier on the Luminion. And here we go for the first KO of the game. Not opting to use the second Primal Turbo. I think it would be quite well in advance to just pop an energy on the Archeops for a free retreat. But you know, this is going to be asking maybe of Geordie, you know, are you going to get the Raikou out? Are you going to be able to get the knockout on this Lugia V-Star? Yeah, I think it feels like a bit like of a challenge from Jack, actually. I think it's sort of, here's my Lugia, what next? Because Jack's bench is full. Yeah. And being able to maybe put some energy on one of the Luminions, ready to loop it back into the deck, could have been a play, but Jack opted not to. They're saving all their resources for now, just in case. And they've challenged Geordie to knock out this Lugia. For sure. And this just goes to show the effect of Path to the Peak and how detrimental it is to the Lugia. Because without Path to the Peak being an issue for Lugia, he wouldn't have the Luminion on the bench. He wouldn't have the Pumpkaboo on the bench. So, you know, he would have had 2 more board spaces on that bench that have just been wasted on the prevention of the effective Path to the Peak. And I tell you what, we've been enjoying this game so much that we haven't even noticed the time on the round is coming so close to the end. We are almost there. It is so close at this point. I'm not sure either of them are going to be able to take enough prize cards. Well, yeah, it's a question that you'll definitely be asking. So, you know, the 2 players do have 2 prizes on the board. You know, there's a plethora of Luminion on Jack's board with that Lugia. You know, he's got the Raikou out, so he's going to be trying to definitely eye up a knockout with the Raikou on the Lugia. But interesting. Even if Jack is able to use the Luminion attack to put it back into the deck, Geordie plays a Echoing Horn. Yes, absolutely. So it could, if Jack's got anything worth popping back on that bench in the discard pile, well, it doesn't really matter that Jack's freed up some bench space because Geordie can fill it right back up again.
No, yeah, for sure. And we see here the the Melanie attaching to the Raikou, and yeah, he's just he is storming ahead. He's going right into that Lugia with the Raikou.
Understandably so. He knows he can hit it for weakness comfortably. Getting another Mew down on the bench there by the looks of things. Ready to set up for next turn maybe, because this is the only attacker they've got. They take the KO, grab those prize cards.
I think it's a knockout. I think he's
Just
hitting for about 460.
Yeah, it might be a little bit much.
with the Zapdos, there's additional damage as well. Hitting that Lugia extremely hard. And now I think the pressure's actually on Jack.
Yeah, massively. It's totally turned the tides of the game.
Yeah, he's got rid of the Radiant Charizard. We know that he's also, I think he also got rid of the Yveltal as well, or maybe that was last game.
I believe that was last game.
Yeah,
I think this was...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was this one. So we've just been made aware that time has been called on the round, so we'll be going into turns.
Oh, yes. So Jack's going to be thinking, how do I win this game? You know, I've got 4 prizes left and 2 more turns. How do I get these 2 prizes, 2 prizes? So he's got the Snorlax is huge, but of course he is going to have to try and attach all of the powerful energy to that Snorlax to get the knockout on the Raikou. We did see that last turn as well, and of course the weakness on Geordie's bench is the Lumineon and also the Crobat. So, you know, this can be Jack's game.
Yeah, there are a couple of sitting Psyducks there on Geordie's bench, not able to do anything. Geordie will struggle to get those away. He can't heal them. Technically could Lumineon loop, but won't take a knockout, and that's really what both of these players are going to want to be doing. They require to take a knockout on their last few turns here. They both need to take two prize knockouts. Yeah. Otherwise, it is game over.
Yeah, for sure. And Jack's going to be looking through his deck, and I think he's going to be counting how many powerful energy are in the deck. You know, he can take a knockout with the Snorlax. He can take a knockout with the Archeops on Crobat if it does permit him. So, yeah, we do see the attachment on the Snorlax. I imagine he's going to be attaching 2 special energy on the Snorlax. That's not going to be the double turbo. He doesn't want to negate the amount of damage he's doing. So at the moment he's doing a massive 200 with the Snorlax. So it is a knockout on the Raikou. So we'll see if he's able to complete this here. So we do see a Marnie.
She's back.
Yeah.
And hopefully this time will do her job right.
Yeah. Interesting here as well. He does need 1 more energy because he didn't have energy in hand. He needs to retreat the Lumineon. And also he needs to be using the Primal Turbo on either the Snorlax or the Lumineon. Either one's fine. But he does need to be able to retreat that Lumineon, so he does need an energy in hand.
Yeah, I believe he did. I think it was a capture energy we might have seen in hand. So I'm pretty sure I saw an energy in that hand. It's just whether he decides to give it to Snorlax or Lumineon, and then which energy he decides to Primal Turbo onto the other. It'll be an interesting decision, because the one that's attached to the Lumineon, we're going to say goodbye to that energy, so it needs to be something that is discardable.
So we see here the Primal Turbo. Jack just withering through his deck. Picking out the energy for retreat. Ooh, promoted. Okay, so this is a very good play. So he's attaching 2, because now this can be a retreat twice. So he can use the retreat with the Lumineon now, and then next turn he can retreat it again with the remaining energy.
Very clever. I like that a lot.
So he's using this as a pivot now, more or less.
Yeah.
So he's going to be taking the knockout with the Snorlax. He's going to be thumping Snoring again. And also, Geordie needs to knock out this Snorlax.
Well, Geordie can't afford to knock out the Snorlax. Geordie needs to take a double prizer. So Geordie's going to be wanting to get those fish, but if they don't deal with the Snorlax, Jack could possibly run away with this game, but only if Jack can get a double prizer in the active spot.
Yes. So Jack just needs a boss now, or you know, the problem for Geordie here is, does he play to win or does he play to not lose?
Yeah.
So taking out the Snorlax takes out the only threat on the board. However, taking a Lumineon will of course put him down to only 2 prizes, but it's leaving the threat of the Snorlax.
Absolutely, and in the same vein, unfortunately, Jack just needs to take out that Crobat or Luminion, and they win, and they do get another go. So Geordie can't afford to leave either of those potentially in the active. They can't leave anything vulnerable. Jack needs a boss or a Serena, anything, and that Snorlax to be available. So if Geordie takes that away, then although Geordie can't secure a win for himself, he stops Jack from being the victor.
No, yeah, for sure. And we see the strength here of those single prizes in the Lugia deck. So, you know, taking full advantage of the Snorlax is huge, but also, you know, taking advantage of the Amazing Rare Raikou, the Charizard, and using them in such intelligent ways to use them to their full advantage in the prize mapping like we see here.
Yeah, prize mapping is so important, and this is a really good example as to why, especially when it comes down to turns near the end of the round.
Yeah, for sure.
It matters so much. Both of the players have everything to play for. We're 1-1 at the moment, so ideally, Jack would ideally like to clutch a victory here.
Yeah.
But Geordie, I think, is ever so aware that it's probably not possible for him right now.
Yeah, for sure. So we see here the Melanie onto the Vikavolt. He's going to be seeing for the first time, maybe, if he didn't prize check the supporters, how many Melanie was in the prizes. Opting to get the Radiant Greninja. So at the moment, we're looking at a Paralyzing Bolt. Unfortunately, it's not a knockout on anything. You know, so we know that he doesn't play Choice Belt.
Yeah, Jack does need to wake Snorlax up, though. That could be a falter in the plan. Snorlax really needs to wake up to make this easy for Jack. Otherwise, he's going to be struggling to pivot around. He does play the Bird Keeper, which I don't believe we've seen yet this game. So maybe it's enough, but only if they've got it. Both Luminion are still in play. Yeah,
no, for sure. So we see here the Paralyzing Bolt, perhaps. Well, I say perhaps it's definitely going to be a Paralyzing Bolt. And here we see two massive flips from Jack.
No,
unlucky.
Already
one.
Both tails.
Both tails.
No.
So now we have to see some sort of Bird Keeper play into the Archeops.
And then retreat with an energy, maybe?
And then retreat, but then you need to do 200 damage.
And we need to see the Bird Keeper in hand somehow, because Luminion can't do it. So this is a deck search. I think I just saw the glance of the Bird Keeper there in the deck.
Yeah, sure. So unsure of how. Yeah, there's a little shake of the head there. I'm unsure. Yeah, it's a tie.
Oh, they're calling it. Yeah, it is. But it's still really fantastic scores for these players, and they can still both make day 2.
No, they're still both in it. I think that's the main point here. You know, they both played admirably. They both played to their outs, but unfortunately, the snoring of the Snorlax was too much.
He was too sleepy in the end.
Yeah, so I mean, it wasn't so much of a threat unless he, of course, got the double heads. It was always going to be a lot for Jack. You know, you're looking at a 25% odds, but
it was on a coin flip.
Yeah, it's always. It
happens.
Sometimes it's on a coin flip, unfortunately.
When you play a risky card like that, I mean, there is a risk that comes along with a sleepy Snorlax.
Yeah, and I think if we go back, you know, how detrimental was that path to the peak? If maybe Jack had just one more bench space, he could have fully utilized another attacker to take the knockout there, you know. But having to use the Luminion, having to use the Pumpkaboo, it ended up being quite detrimental in the end.
In the end, yeah, but they both played fantastic. Yeah, that last game really was kind of what I was asking for. I was really hoping for something down to the wire. It was a shame we couldn't get a clear victor, but I think they both earned that tie. It still gets them a match point each, and I think that they both played very admirably.
Yeah. No, yeah, especially for Geordie, looking at those prize cards. I think if I ask Geordie, would you like a tie? By the way, you're prizing 3 Melanie. I'm sure he'd probably be shaking my hand and trying to bite it off. But, you know, it's fortunate for him, you know, like I said, the game went the way it did, with the path to the peak being so relevant with bench spaces. You know, they're going to go into the last round. They're both going to be on a winning in.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Geordie is 6-1-1 now.
Yes,
so I believe he's confirmed.
So Geordie's okay,
so Geordie's fine, but Jack will need either a draw or a win.
He will indeed, yes. He won't quite slide through otherwise. So fingers crossed for Jack in the next round. But really fantastic plays from both. And I think Geordie was fantastic for being able to play their deck in an aggro and a control variant in both in one match.
No, yeah, for sure. And these decks aren't easy to play. This is going to be one of those, like I call it, a fringe deck. It's not going to be one of those top 3. It's not going to be a Lost Box. It's not going to be anything like in the top 3, Lugia or Mew as well. It's a different engine. It's a completely different way to play. And, you know, it's completely different also if you go first or second, like I said. But, you know, Jordy knows what he's doing. He's well versed, and it's a deck that you definitely need to be well tested on, and he's reaping the full rewards.
And I think Jack did really well to play against that with no weakness guard. That was impressive. Like being able to hang on like that, win one of the games, I think he did fantastic, especially with 1 arc up.
No, yeah, sure.
Shows you don't always need to.
And we also need to talk about how the Jack was utilizing his single prizes really well. You know, it turns out that Snorlax is a small addition. Into the Lugia. Not everybody involves them into their Lugia list, but we'll see how advantage it is to put it into the deck.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to be looking at some Lugia V-Star and then heading into the break in a moment.
Yeah, happy to review Lugia. So we'll see here